everyone. So I'm really bad at making videos, but I had a little bit of free time today, plus I'm kind of frustrated with some of my life in Korea stuff, so I'm taking a break to talk about my life in Korea, which I guess doesn't make sense, but the problems I'm having are with the bank, because banking in Korea is incredibly complicated and stupid, and my co-teacher sent me, or not my co-teacher, but my handler person sent me without her to the bank, and I feel like a lot of this could have been avoided if she had just come with me. But alas, language barrier issues have prevented me from completely figuring out the banking thing, so hopefully I'll be able to get that done soon so I can send money home. But speaking of language barrier issues, what I wanted to talk about today was why Korean is hard for English speakers, which kind of explains why English is hard for Korean speakers if you think about it. But anyway, the things I wanted to talk about are some of the things that I've just learned from trying to study Korean, which I'm picking up some stuff, and I'm planning to take a class with Sarah, so hopefully that'll help. But there's just a couple of things that you don't realize they're so different about our languages. Okay, maybe you do. Like the alphabet clearly is different. But what's hard about that is that since it is a different alphabet, there's not exactly a way to match the sounds of the language exactly. So a lot of Koreans, you've probably noticed this with Asians, but a lot of Koreans have trouble with the R and L difference. So like the word roller coaster is really difficult for them because sometimes it comes out as like roller coaster because they can't distinguish the difference between an R and L and say they don't have that sound, which is untrue to me. I've heard my co-teachers with Korean say R and L, but the problem with the Korean alphabet is a lot of their sounds are in between our sounds. So for example, I don't know if this is going to turn out well, but this is I can't remember what the letters are called, but this makes a K or a G sound. So depending on where it is in the syllable, it makes a G sound or a K sound. I think at the end of the syllable it always makes a K sound, like Miguk has the K, but they don't always pronounce the K. Or if you hear 감사합니다, that's thank you. But if you see it romanized, sometimes it has a G and sometimes it has a K, and it's really hard for us to tell the difference between their pronunciation. So the letter that they use for R and L, that one is hard to tell what it means. And then you have things like this letter, which is a P or a B. So that means bop means rice, but it's the same letter, but it's pronounced bop, like kimbap is like Korean sushi. So the same letter can make different sounds, and it's hard to tell which sound it's supposed to make, if it's a P or a B or G. Like when you taekwondo, my students had to ask me how to spell it in English because they weren't sure, and I told them that both were okay because I've seen it both ways here, but I've only seen it with a K in America, so I don't know. But then another issue that I have is double consonant sounds. So it's really hard for us to tell the difference between, like, there's the K, G sound, which is like a K, and then there's, when you see that letter written twice together, it's supposed to be like a, I can't remember if it's aspirated or not, but I think you're supposed to like push more air out when you say it or something, but I had my co-teacher say both letters and they don't sound any different to me, so it's really hard to tell if I'm making the right sounds or not. And then other things that are really hard about Korean that the alphabet causes problems with is like they're missing sounds that we have. So like there's no F sound in Korean, so that's why when you hear them talk and they say copy, that's because they don't have an F sound, so they say it with a P instead. So copy 주세요 is like give me coffee, and they don't have a Z sound, so they say pizza all the time. Whenever I show my kids pictures, they're like pizza, and I'm like pizza, and they're like pizza, which is fine. I understand what they're saying, but so the first time you hear it, you're like, wait, what are they saying? Or my coach, she was talking about Halloween, and she said, I saw a bunch of zombies last year, and I was like, zombies. Oh, zombies. Yeah, zombies. So it caused a lot of struggles with communication because like we're missing sounds that they have and they're missing sounds that we have, so just pronunciation all the time is just really, really hard. And I think the hardest part about Korean is just the structure of it. It's so different, and this is why English is hard for them, is because our structures are different, where we say like I am a teacher, so the verb is in the middle there. I am a teacher. They would say 선생님이에요, so teacher I am. So to me, Korean sounds like Yoda speak, which is kind of hard to master because to us it sounds a little bit ridiculous. But like a sample sentence would be 친구하고 영화 왔어요. Okay, let me try that again. 친구하고 영화 보았어요, which means I saw a movie with my friend. But if you translated it literally, it means friend with movie I saw. So that's really hard to get used to, putting the verb at the end. And also the verb, there's no conjugation of the verb really. I mean, there is in terms of like the verb 가다 is to go, and so I would say like 가요, like I'm going, but 가요 can also mean like, so if I said 집에 가요, it's I'm going home, but if I said 집에 가요, it means are you going home or is he going home or whatever, because it just depends. There's no indicator, there's no he, she, you, I necessary for the verb, so it depends on the context. So clearly if I say 집에 가요, I'm not saying am I going home, well, most of the time. So it's based on your intonation and I guess the context. So that kind of was weird to get used to. And then another thing you have to get used to are the honorifics and the different levels of respect. And there's honorifics, there's different ways to address, like whether it's a coworker, student, whether they're higher up or lower than you. Basic rule of thumb is your verbs should probably always end with yo, like like if you're talking to like a superior or something, so like kayo or 먹고 싶어요 is I want to eat. Like with a friend you can say 먹고 싶어, I think, but to be respectful it should have a yo at the end, so I generally just add a yo onto everything because I don't want to disrespect anybody and I'm probably doing it wrong, but I really don't like to offend people, so, which is really easy to do in Korean, I guess, because if you forget the honorifics or something, it's like really offensive. So thankfully I kind of get a free pass because I'm clearly never going to be able to speak Korean perfectly and I'm obviously a foreigner, but I'm trying my best to keep those in there. But just makes it another thing that you have to learn about Korean is honorifics. Yeah. And I also just have a problem with Korean because why? It has two number systems and it's so confusing because there's a Korean number system that's native Korean, and then Sino-Korean is based on, I guess, Chinese, because they have a lot of influence from China. But so they have two number systems, which is confusing because they just automatically know the difference between them and when to use which one, but when you're learning it, it's like, why do you use one for hours of the time and one for minutes? I don't know. And there's so many particles and counters that have to do with the numbers. It's like if you're counting people, there's a different counter. If you're talking about a location, there's a particle. If you're talking about, there's subject particles and topic particles, which emphasize stuff in the sentence, and it's just a bunch of grammar that I've never heard before. So I am struggling with it a little bit, but apparently that's a comfort to my co-teachers that it's hard for me to learn, and it's a comfort to my students that their languages is hard for me to learn as mine is for them. But if you want to learn more Korean, try talktomeinkorean.com because that's what I do in my spare time at school. But actually the alphabet's kind of easy to learn and it's pretty fun. So if you want to impress people, I would pick up learning the Korean alphabet because it's not that hard to learn how to read it. It's just getting the pronunciation down takes a little bit of time. But so far it's helped me out. I can read things in restaurants, which is helpful for ordering, and I've started to be able to communicate a little bit with my students, so I know how to say like stop it, so like hajima when they're being bad, and anytime I use a new word they're like, teacher, that was good Korean. So even though it's been difficult for me, I'm finding that people are pretty supportive about it and I'm enjoying it, so I hope this language class helps me out. And in other news, I hope it gets cooler soon because Seoul is doing this stupid thing where it's cold in the morning and then it still gets up to 75 or 80 degrees during the day and then it's cold at night again, so I still have no idea what I'm supposed to be wearing, and it's almost fall, so I would really like to be feeling some fall weather because tomorrow's October, so get on that. Well, that's about it for now. I hope everyone's doing well and hope you are enjoying whatever weather you're experiencing right now, and I hope you think about how hard it is for Asians to learn our language the next time you run into somebody that has trouble speaking it, because I know from experience when I try and speak Korean and they can't understand me, it's really frustrating. So cut them some slack, and that is my message for today. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.